So in this video, I'm going to show you how to take a set of 04 to 06 Dodge Durango headlights and retrofit them. For this setup, for this kit at least that we're going to be using, LED projectors, a turbine shroud with a switchback halo, switchback sequential strips for the turn signals down in the lower section, and everything that we needed is included. That includes the butyl, that includes the breather patches, that includes everything to be plug and play, ready to go. Pre-made harnesses so that it'll plug directly into the H13 plugs on your car. Everything to make this as simple as possible, but to show you how to do it. The main purpose of these videos will be to help people that are interested in trying to get a retrofit, but maybe don't quite know what they're getting into or what's involved. Just trying to help dispel some of that, make this a little bit easier. Know what you're getting into, know that what you're buying is what you need to do this build, and we will be trying to expand and do many different cars as we move forward with kits designed specifically for each car. As far as the basic function of the lights, as this kit is assembled, you have a DRL function, so this will be your running lights, which will be a white halo and amber in the bottom. The reason it is amber in the bottom is this entire reflector is amber, so any LEDs that are placed behind it will be amber. Without a lot of work, you can't really change that. Nice part is it still looks pretty good with the yellow and the white, and then you got the sequentials for the turns. So those would be your turn signals. If you would like to get a price on a kit, the same kit, just without that bottom strip, I can get you a price on that as well. Just hit us up at Next Level Neo, and I can get you a quote minus the strip. So I'm going to save you a ton of money, but you know, if you're not really worried about that yellow strip, it will save you a couple bucks. So just to recap on what parts are actually included, we do have our 2.5-inch bi-LED projectors. These have better output than a lot of the HIDs that are out there, especially in a 2.5-inch package. The install is pretty simple. They are very short base, and that's why we choose this one for this build. It doesn't require recessing the projector or nut and bolt. It's just a very simple install using this one. As well, we have modified the driver that's normally included with this to be set up for plug and play with this. So you've got two plugs on the back that will plug directly into the driver, and then from there, and I can do that real quick, just like that, just JST plugs like that, and then from here that will plug directly into your car's original headlight bulb plug. One thing that you can do here, you don't have to, and in many cases this won't really be an issue, but if you want to go a little bit further, a little bit better with your connections, what you can use is something called dielectric grease, and you can get that from any auto parts store. And you just will put that inside of the plug on this end here, and it will create a little bit of a more waterproof connection. Generally, the average car isn't really going to see that much issues with corrosion and stuff like that with the JST, but if you want to take a little bit of an extra step, that is a good way to do it. Next up, we do have these mounting parts that we will use to secure this into the light. We're mainly actually just going to use the rubber gasket ring here, as well as the screw nut, but you will get the whole kit with a bunch of other pieces in there, but we will cover that. As well, this is the sequential strip. Now on the sequential strip, this is a 12-inch strip, and it is designed to be cut at each mark line on the strip to fit the proper size. And in the case of this Durango light, we will actually cut off this very last part. I can do that right now. It's just as simple as using a pair of wire cutters like these, lining up right on there, and then cutting it right away like that. The strip will still function normally. It'll just be a little bit shorter so it fits in the light better. This is the driver for this sequential strip. It is important that you get the drivers properly matched. It does say 12-inch on the one that goes with this, and the one that goes with your halo will actually say 110mm on it to match with the halo. And the reason being, this one is a sequential, this one just is a switchback, so it flashes amber for turns, and then it goes back to a white for your DRLs. This one flows amber for turns and then goes right back to a white DRL. So you don't want to get those two mixed up, and they do use the same plug, so please consider that when you're doing the install to keep the drivers separated between the two. Shroud wise, for this particular build we have chosen the turbine, and that will be the standard on the kits. Once again, these kits are meant to be if you're not really sure what you're getting into and you just want to be able to buy a kit for your car to be able to do a full retrofit that has everything you need, this kit will do it. If you want to try and tweak the kit, we can do that. We have many more shrouds on the website. Some may require trimming, some may not fit well, some might fit well. In the case of the Durango, you have a lot of room in there, so more than likely whatever you get from us will probably fit, but the only one that we're saying for sure easy install is the turbine, and personally this is my favorite to go with anyways. But if you want to go a different direction, you can hit us up, let us know. We can build you a package using a different shroud or something else and try to help you as best we can. But once again, we don't know the case of every circumstance. We cannot say for sure if any one certain shroud will fit, won't fit, will need trimming. This is definitely the one to go with if you want plug and play, no questions, easy. This video will cover all that using these parts in this combination. The last thing that we have are our breather patches. And the purpose of the breather patches is to reduce, and in many cases eliminate, condensation. Condensation is because the inside of your light is hotter than the outside air temperatures. This is actually really common to see when people wash a car. Because you are spraying your car with cold water on a hot day, it's very common to see condensation. These breather patches help to regulate the air temperature within, because they will block water from getting in, but they will allow air to flow throughout the light, which will help to reduce that issue. So we have included 8 with each kit, so it'll be 4 for each side. We do 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom, and I will show you how we go about doing that. So this is all the parts that you will need for the kit, and it will be all included. Next up, we're going to cover the tools that will be needed to do this build, or at least to follow along with what we're doing. First off, you will need a drill. I prefer ones with a step bit in it. Now this is for your breather patches as well as running the wires outside of the light. So you can use a regular drill bit, that'll be fine. It just has to be big enough to put the holes the size that you need them for the wires and whatnot. I like the step bits, but yeah, any drill bit should be fine. It's just plastic, so you don't even need like a carbide or cobalt bits or anything like that. You will need a basic screwdriver, and the actual reason for that is going to be you're going to need a couple screws to screw in the halo into the turbine shroud, and I will show you that in a little bit here. You're going to need some wire cutters. Now the main purpose of these is actually to cut that strip, the 12-inch strip, down just a little bit, like I showed you in the parts side of this. So you will need that for that little part. You will need a sealant to reseal the light. Gasket Maker works really well. So like this is the right stuff, 1 minute by Permatex. So it is a very fast curing, but you can use the normal Gasket Maker and it will work fine. You just have to consider that it will take a little bit longer before you want to try to be handling the light to make sure that you get that watertight seal. You're also going to want some kind of a glue. I really like the Gorilla Glue contact adhesive. It's kind of thick, so it doesn't want to run real bad, and you kind of want something that can build a little bit of a base to it for what we're going to be doing. So I like the Gorilla Glue contact adhesive. It's also a very, it's removable if you need it to, but it can also create a pretty good permanent bond as far as vibrations and things go. It's very resistant to that. The last tool that you will need is the like some kind of a tool to open the lights, to cut the lights open. Unfortunately, these lights are sealed with Permaseal, and the light housing itself is rather soft plastic, so if you try to open it up in an oven, you've actually got a very good chance that you're going to warp the housing, or you're going to break the plastic or something else. In the case of these particular lights, I would recommend to cut them open. The Dremel is probably the most common thing that most people have, but you can use different methods. Generally for me, I will use an ultrasonic cutter, but those can be over $500 for a decent one. The average person isn't going to have that, so this works very well. In addition to using blade wheels like these, this will do very well. You can also try, I think some people have used like reciprocating saw cutters that just can't remember the name of them, but there are some other methods to do it, but in this case I'm going to show you how to do it with the Dremel. So as far as the light goes, initially opening it, you're going to want to open it from the back side here, and there is a lip where the headlight itself, the lens cover, actually feeds in, which you can kind of tell like at this top here about how big that lip is. So you want to cut on the inside of that line the whole way around. So you're going to cut the whole way around the light, trying to keep somewhat tight inside that line. You can kind of see the mark, and I would follow that right down along. Right like that. So you can see I have marked it the whole way along, following right on the inside of that line. When you get to this part here, I actually think it's just easier if you just cut that out. So like you can just cut right along the base there, and then cut along the side and just remove this whole thing. All it is a guide for your set screw here, but it really does get in the way. It makes it difficult because you got to try to cut behind that. That's not real easy to do. So I would just cut that out, and then yeah, beyond that, you should be good to go to actually open the light. So I'm going to go cut that now. Okay, so I finished cutting along the outside, and you may find that the heat of the blade will actually kind of reseal it behind you. That's okay. You can actually crack it open with a little bit of a flathead screwdriver. Just find a nice opening, stick it in, and pry. If you have two, you can kind of work them down along together and pry it open. You'll hear some pops and stuff. It's just the plastic that you've already cut that had got hot and kind of melted back together. It's just popping open. But it should come right off like that. So you can see there is the back half. Here's the front half. Now, in addition to, because we did not open the lights via the Permaseal, there are tabs. There's 4 of them, 2 in each corner, and you're going to have to cut the tabs with the Dremel. So you got to go in there at an angle, cut those tabs. You won't be able to get this last one, but if you get the other 3, you can actually work it out and then just kind of like bend it out, and it'll pull right out of that corner. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut those now. So now that I've cut the tabs, I'm gonna try to kind of pry this up and out from this side first. Just like that. And then from there can kind of hold down a little bit and pry a little bit up at the top there. So as I'm pulling up, I'm pulling it towards that last tab that we couldn't get, and that way you don't put any actual stress on the lens itself, and it just pulls right out, as you can see. I will trim that down so that I'm able to get it right back in the housing, just with the Dremel. Just cut that little tab off and that would fall right back in when we're done. But here's the tab, the lens, all still in one piece. We'll put that aside. The lens is very important. You do not touch the inside. Generally these are coated on the inside, so if you get something in there and you try to wipe it down, you're going to leave marks. So definitely don't touch the inside. So now we have this front cover. We can knock this one out real quick. This whole piece pops right out. There are tabs on the back side here, just like that. Pops right there, and then there's a couple more. And there it is. So now we have that and the cover. So the strip is going to go right along here, and we're just going to support it right in there. On this corner, being that we're sequential, the way these strips work, the sequential starts where the wires are. So it will start here and will flow this direction. So we're going to want to position it somewhat like this within the house, the housing, and that means we're going to need to drill a hole on this side here. So now we have drilled a hole. You're also going to want to like blow this out or wipe it down. Try to get all the dust out that you can. Any dust that's left inside of the housing, static will end up trying to bring it forward to the lens, and then you'll see, like, you know, black spots, white spots, or whatever on the front lens. So you want to try to knock all those out. An air compressor works really well. We're going to take the strip, remove the backing tape, just like so. Feed your wire through this front corner, and then you're going to position it just like that. Okay, so you'll get it in place just about like that. That's when I use the Gorilla Glue contact adhesive. Once again, the really nice thing about this is it does build up better than a lot of the other ones. A lot of glues will try to run, so it'll be really hard to kind of get it where you want it and make it stay there. This is also shock resistant, so when it comes to cars and vibrations and things like that, you're a lot less likely to have vibrations break your gluing, you know, wherever you glued free. So that's definitely something to consider. So I'm just going to put a little bit around each of the ends where the contacts are with the actual light. Alright, so now I've got the strip secured, and I'm going to put this back in. And just like that, it snaps right in. Now, keep in mind with this too, you can get a little bit creative if you want to. You can paint all of this before you put the strip in and the cover and all that stuff if you want to. Color match your car, or, you know, some other color if you want to. I'm going to keep it matte black for this build, but just a little extra option if you want to make it a little bit more unique. So I'm going to put that to the side. Next up is the reflector housing, the back side of the light. You are going to want to make sure you remove this bulb from the DRL. Being that we have the strip down there, you're not going to need it. If you choose to not have the strip, like if you contact us about getting a specific kit done without the strip, then you won't want to make sure that you keep that bulb in. But if you are having the strip, make sure the bulb is pulled out. As well, I went ahead and I did remove the turn signal bulb just so we don't break it. This will get reused. If you decide that you don't want to use the bulb, you can pull it, but please remember that you're going to need to use a hyperflash resistor so that you do not get the turn signals flashing fast. I also did remove this already. Normally this little guard is in here right like this. You're just going to bend it back and forth until it kind of just pops off. It's kind of like a cheap metal, so it's not too hard to remove. You're not going to need that, so remove that and get it out of the way. This is another case, chrome here. You can paint the chrome if you want to, do it a different color. There are some anodized paints as well that kind of give it like a, well, it's an anodized metal look to it when you put it on top of chrome. So you can look into those as well. Metal Cast is one of the brands made by Duplicolor, and they have several colors like red, blue, orange, things like that. If you do want to paint it a different color, not anodized, but maybe like a black or something like that, you're probably going to want to strip it first. You can try oven cleaner, or you can try a degreaser, and either one can strip the chrome right off, so that way you have a plastic base to actually paint on, because these are not metal. It's just like a plastic basically. So on this as well, this is where we're going to have our vents. Vent wise, I would put one right here, I'd put one up top here, and then I'd put two on the bottom, probably like here and here. So in my case, I'm just gonna drill through right like that. And you don't want to make them too big, but you don't want to make them too small. The patches are only so large, and you want to make sure that the adhesive strip on the outside of the patches actually makes contact with the plastic of the housing. So definitely keep that in mind when you're trying to figure out about how big you want to make the holes. Just look at those patches first to get an idea. So now we will secure the patches to cover up the holes that we just created, and like I said, that just allows it to breathe. There are actually breather vents on the back as well. That's what these three things right here are, is breather vents. But you're just adding more. You can't really hurt the light by adding more, as long as anything that you add is sealed from water. It can only help you to reduce condensation. So next up, we're going to go ahead and put a hole for where we're going to run our wires. Now, I like to run the wires up around here. It's kind of tucked up out of the way so that any water can't really get to it, because it's on the bottom side of the light, well, the top side of light, but it's underneath this lip. So I'm just going to drill a little hole right here. You want it to be big enough for your drivers to fit. So I've got the drivers here. Now the drivers will actually go inside the light, but we're going to run the wires out the back. So you want to make sure you got plenty of room to run two wires out the back, because you already do have two drivers that you have to run out. That looks good. So now we're going to set this aside for a minute, and we're going to move on to our shroud and our halo, mounting the halo itself. Now the halos come with adhesive backing. It's just a piece of tape. You're going to go ahead and just remove that, because you will not need the tape for this case. And you will get a ring. So normally the ring would look something like this, with these two little bumps that come down, and then that little center hole there. You're just going to cut this part off, so you end up with just nothing but this ring here. On the inside here, there are some little raised points on the inside on these little tabs here, and you're going to want to cut those off. You can use the Dremel, you can use some wire cutters. I really like to use these little Oetiker pliers, and I can just go right in and just snip them right off, and that works really well. Next up, you're going to take the halo and put it inside here. Now what you're going to do is, there's two raised screw holes on the inside there, and you're going to want those to be on the top when you're looking at it. So put the halo in with the wires down at the bottom, and then just kind of push the halo around those screw holes, just like that. And that way you can take this ring and put it right over top. And then you're going to need 2 screws. I use a number 4 screw that's like 1/2 inch long, something like that. And you're just going to screw it right in there. All you're doing, you're just securing it so that that halo doesn't try to pop out on you at any point. Just like that. So now the halo is mounted inside of the shroud. And we can set that to side for a minute. Up next is this little piece. This is called the centric ring. And that will be included. I forgot to mention it in the first part of what's actually in the kit. But it's a centric ring, and what it does is, this is a 3-inch halo shroud. A 3-inch shroud, and we're using a 2.5-inch projector. So this fits the gap. So what that does is it makes a 3-inch shroud fit on a 2.5-inch projector using what is called a centric ring. Now the centric rings themselves can be a little bit tight. If you find that yours doesn't quite fit around the projector, you just want to take some sandpaper on the inside until it does fit flush on there. It shouldn't take too long to get it there. Just like this case, this one actually slides on pretty good. Fitment can vary a little bit, just depending on manufacturing. So a lot of the times I do need to take a little bit of sandpaper to the inside to get it to fit snug on the projector itself. So go ahead and test that before you fit the projector into the light. That way it's a little bit easier to take it on and off and get it lined up just right. Once you get that where you want it, then you can kind of see on the inside here, figure out about where you need those tabs to go, because there's actually some tabs on the inside, and those will fit right around the little indentations on the ring. And you're going to want to make sure they're lined up so that the bottom of the projector, which is where the fan is on the bottom here, is down, and then the wire coming from the projector is down as well, or from the shroud and the halo. And then it'll just snap right on. I'm not going to snap it on because I don't want it to, because then I'd have to pull it right back off, because we don't want it on there for when we actually put it inside the light. In addition to that, due to vibrations and stuff like that, it is possible that the shroud could at some point try to detach from the actual light. So a nice thing to do is take a little more of that glue, put a little bit of it on there, right at the contact points, right where that ring touches the projector. Just like that. So I'm going to remove the driver here. Yours probably won't be pre-attached, but if you did attach it, just test fitting everything. Make sure you remove that before you put it inside the light. Also on the light here, one other thing that I did forget, we are going to want to drill a hole where we can run our wire for the halo, and it can go out the back. So I'm going to drill a hole right, I think I'm going to put it like right about here, right next to that little indent. And just like that. Now you can see all that nasty stuff in there. This is definitely a step you want to do before you paint, if you do decide to paint. I'm going to go ahead and blow this out now. Okay, so now moving on to actually mounting the projector inside the light. So you get this little bag that has a bunch of little hardware in it. So the only 2 pieces that we're going to use is the little silicone O-ring and the nut. So for the O-ring, it's just going to go right around the projector, like so. And you're going to push it right up on the base, just like that. And that's going to create a better seal. It's also going to prevent it from trying to spin on you while you're driving down the road, which is kind of important. We're going to slide that right through into the housing hole right through the back. And then on the back side, we're going to take that nut. We're going to slide these little plugs right through it, and then secure this to the back of the projector. So you're going to make sure the projector itself is lined up, angled properly on the actual light. you can kind of line it up with this little bottom bracket here where we snapped off that little protector, this thing here. You can line it up with that and just try to eyeball it and get it as close as you can. You can make some minor adjustments on the car from the back, being that we're not doing a nut and bolt, if in the event that it is off a little bit. So I'm going to use a pair of pliers, but you know, anything that you can use to just secure that nut in place a little beyond what finger tight would be. So just like that, I have secured the nut in place, projector's in place, and it doesn't free spin. It's in there pretty solid, so that's the important part. The next part is to take the shroud that we have. You're going to feed this wire through that hole, just like so, and the shroud will fit right over top. So it'll fit right in there like that. You can see they got it lined up pretty good there. Something you can consider is wearing gloves when you do this. A lot of times I will, especially if you're doing chrome. Anything with chrome, you definitely want to make sure. But I'm just going to go back over with the microfiber. I didn't really get much on there. But if you got greasy fingers or something like that, keep that in mind. You're going to leave fingerprints on everything that you touch. So keep that in mind. A pair of gloves isn't a bad idea. It's a little easier for me to work with my hands without them, and I usually clean them before I start touching stuff. So fingerprints haven't been a huge issue for me. It's mostly dust. Dust is the hard part for me. I'm always having to blow dust off, wipe dust away, stuff like that, especially when you're using the Dremel and you're cutting stuff and you're creating a lot of dust, doing all that stuff, and just trying to get all that back out. Air compressors help really well with blowing stuff out, getting the dust off. So keep that in mind. So we have got that done now. Here is the halo wire that will go to the driver. So I'm going to take that driver here, plug it right in, and then I'm going to, actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to run this wire down around this little, the adjustment, the base there. Snap that right in place. And then this can fit in there. Kind of push it in there a little bit, but it'll fit right in. Just like that. That's perfect. That's a perfect fit. It'll stay in there. It's not loose. Stay right where we need it. These wires can slide right through here, so we can get our turn signals and stuff going right out the back side there, and that'll keep it out of the way. It won't be in the way of anything, and it won't break loose. That's another big thing. You know, everything inside the light, you want to make sure that it's not getting loose, falling around, going places. You know, a little bit of the contact adhesive here can work to secure things in place if you need to. Just keep in mind the dry time on that. It will take a little bit to dry. But so this part here, we're good to go. The next part would be our 12-inch driver. So this will go for the sequential. So you want to keep in mind the location of your wire on the sequential. Again, in this case, it comes out on this end here. So I will be running it down along the bottom and up. So I will secure this one in a similar location. So I'm looking at the hole here, and it's slide it right through there like that. And I think what I'm going to do is just shove this down underneath. And that way I can just tuck it right under on the side of the reflector housing with the projector in it. And then this plug can plug in, and the whole light can just go right on, just like that. So that'll give you an idea. So the next thing I'm going to do is get the lens cover, and I'm going to put this back inside, and then we are going to get ready to put it all back together. So just keep in mind when you're putting it back in there, you're going to want to go in at that same angle, make sure that you did cut off that extra tab on the top there. You're going to go back in at that angle like that, and then you're just going to kind of push this down here, and then the same on that side. Now to kind of secure this in place to make sure that it doesn't jostle around on you, you can use a little bit more of that glue and just hit those tabs where you had to cut them, and that'll help to secure it so it's not shaking on you, jostling around while you're driving down the road. Alright, so now the glue is dry. So we're going to take that cover and go ahead and put this on there. Make sure you blow everything out or whatever you're going to do first before you assemble everything back together. Wipe it down with a microfiber or whatever else. Try to get as much of that dust out of there as you can to try to prevent any issues. Another thing to consider if you do decide that you want to paint the front bezel or any of the parts inside, give them a day or two to dry because they do something it's called gassing out, where the actual the paint will cure and some of the solvents and things that are used in the paint will actually air out, and it can fog up your lens cover if you close it up too fast. So keep that in mind if you do decide to paint. So now we're putting it right on top there. Get it roughly in the area that you need it. And flip it over to the back side and just get it all lined right up. So that's the part we're going to actually seal what we cut up around the outside. This is pretty important because obviously this is where a lot of water can get in if it's not sealed properly. The gasket maker will play a big role in this, but you need something to kind of create more of a bond that will hold better than just a gasket maker. There's a couple different directions that you can go. You can use some kind of a harder glue. I probably wouldn't use this because it's a little more rubberized. I would use something more like a super glue or a CA glue, like Miter Repel or something like that. You can do little parts around it. What I like to do is use a plastic welder. That's what this is called. So it basically just got a hot end. It heats up really hot, and then I can melt the plastic right around where we cut, and it will actually recreate the seal around the light. I think that's one of the better ways to do it, but the key part is just that you're trying to create a bond so that the light itself doesn't try to open on you on the car. So a couple different ways you can do it. What's your preference? You know, it's just depending on what kind of tools you have access to. The glue may be one of the cheaper options to go with. You could also try staples, like welding staples, but the plastic's not extremely thick, so those usually do better if it's a little bit of a thicker plastic. So I have now sealed up the sides. Like I said, there's a couple different ways you can go about that, but the main thing is you just want it to be like you can lift up the back side of this light and the front cover doesn't fall off. That's the important part. So the next part I'm going to do is using the gasket maker. Now I have an actual dispenser here, makes the life a little bit easier. If you're doing a small job, you might go with like a small tube, like about that size, with a gasket maker in it. But either way, so the first step is going to be to lay your gasket maker along top of your cut the whole way around. So I have now gotten it all around. You can see a bead there. So what I'm going to do now is grab a glove, and you don't have to grab a glove, you can do this bare hand, but it's just a lot easier just to pull the glove off, throw it away. You're just going to grab a little bit of water, dip your finger in the water, and you're going to just smooth that out the whole way around. And the water just kind of creates a hydrophobic surface for your finger, so that way you're not you're not creating a lot of friction over that, and it creates a little bit of a cleaner surface along that bead. So now you can see it's a lot smoother up and around there. And you're going to want to visually go over that, make sure you don't have any cracks. Like probably go back and add a little bit there, because there might be a part for water to get in. You're going to visually look for any areas where water can get into the light, and just add a little bit more of that gasket maker into those areas, just to make sure that you got a solid seal. Beyond that, get your bulbs. Go ahead and put them back in anywhere that you need them. And I'm also going to seal up around this hole here, just to make sure that no water gets into the back of the projector there. So I'm going to put a little bit in the hole itself. Just up and around that wire. And I'm going to bring it out and then put it around the nut to create that nice seal. And I am confident that I'm not going to get any water inside that light with that extra seal. These are your wires for your turn signal and your DRL and your ground. So you're going to want to keep that in mind when you tap in. This is your running lights here, so you're going to tap into one of those wires. You got to figure out which one's power, which one's ground, and you're going to do the same for your turn signal here. Which one is power, which one's ground, and that should get you everything set up. So you've got a full light built. One thing on these covers, if you got a new cover and you have like a haze on it from the plastic, it's blooming from the plastic, so the plastic actually leaks out different chemicals or whatnot that create like a hazy look on the cover. That's normal. Just buff it out with a rag and you'll be fine. With this case, for me, I usually ceramic coat these to make it a lot easier to clean them. So clean them up real good, make them look good, ceramic coat them, and then all future cleanings are 10 times easier. That is how to build an 04 to 06 Durango headlight using our kit. The kits are available on the Next Level Neo website, and we hope to be doing a lot more cars. This was just the first one that we did, the Durango. We do have some plans for other cars like a Tacoma, Forester, the 04 to 03 to 05 Foresters. We do have a Baja coming down the line a little bit. There might be a 5th gen Prelude. I think that's like 97 to 01, 98 to 01, something like that. And a few others that we will be trying to do kits for, and hopefully expand on that as time goes on. In these DIY kits, they are meant to make life a little bit easier. Now, you might see on some of the kits that we do, some might get an RGB halo versus the switchback, or even a color flow with our drivers. In the event that you want to change your kit out, maybe you want a Durango with the color flow or the RGB halo or something like that. It's not a massive difference in the setup and how you're actually installing everything, and we can give you that change out, whatever kit you want to change out with, to just kind of change up the style a little bit. We can help you with that. If you're trying to go with a little bit more of like a full-blown color flow build, then I would encourage you to look at a lot of the other tutorials that we have, because those can be a little more involved. But if you're just going with the basic halo and you want to switch that out with something a little bit different, we could totally help you with that. Even in this case with the strip along the front, we have strips that would be fairly simple to install. If you want to do this exact same setup in color flow, contact us directly and we can help you with that, to figure out what type of strips to go with, what type of halos to go with, and even adding demonize if that is something that you want to do. We have some videos showing how to add those as well. So this is kind of a base to get you there. This is going to be a kit where no guessing. You don't need to know what you need. It's all included, everything you need to get this look. And that's the main purpose of it. But beyond that, we are very much all about expanding on that and making it your own, making it special, making it a little bit extra. If you want to do that, if you want to take it to a higher level, the next level, then definitely reach out to us at Next Level Neo, and we can help you get to that next level. But in a case like this is a great light. It's going to have a good output. It's going to look great on the car. It's not going to attract any attention from cops. It's pretty down-to-earth build. So, you know, this is a good build that's going to make a lot of people really happy, especially over the stock. So if that's you, you're looking for something a little bit more in your Durango, it's definitely the build to go with. Thanks for watching the video, and please subscribe, like the video, comment anything that you have questions about, and we'll try to answer as best we can. You can always reach out to us. You're probably a little better chance that we'll actually respond if you reach out to us versus the video, but we do try to keep an eye on the videos and respond when we can. Thanks for watching the video.